Hey guys, it's Martin from Yes I'm a Designer. In this video I will show you how to make the most of the blend tool in Illustrator to create a cool typographic design. I will walk you through the whole process step by step and teach you many hidden gems in Illustrator. Click on the link in the description if you want to get a t-shirt with the final result on it, and browse around to see our range with cool designs like the one I'm wearing. As usual, I start off by having my sketch on a template layer in the background, and I'm going to work on top of it on this separate layer called artwork. I will start using the ellipse tool, and holding down the shift key, I am going to draw my first circle that I will place here on this part of the text. I'm going to also select a color for this, and notice that I have 5 swatches. I actually got these swatches from the Color Themes panel, which you can get to by clicking on this little icon. So if you are not sure what colors you should work with, choosing the Explore option, you will be able to find lots of user-defined color themes, and they will all have 5 colors in them. Let's say if I like this one, I can just choose Add to Swatches, and there you go. We have another color group. So this is a brilliant way of finding inspiration and testing out different color themes. I'm going to pick this one that we created here. I'm in the original circle, and then I Alt click and drag to duplicate it. I will change the color maybe to this other color or even a completely different color there. Then Alt click and drag, duplicate it again, change the color, and then keep doing this. I can even alternate these colors now that I have 3 different colors. I can just Alt click and drag this one down here, then Alt click and drag that. And essentially what I'm trying to keep in mind is that these will be the anchor points in my blend. So once I create the blend, I will join these together, and I think already ahead, like the way I would draw with the pen tool, I'm placing down these anchor points. If you're not familiar working with the pen tool, this is something that you need to experiment with until you get comfortable. But even if you do the wrong placements, you can always amend them later, so it doesn't really matter. Now let's just continue placing them down. I'm going to again use this color, and then the darker purple, and that's basically all we needed for the first word. So I'm going to now switch to the blend tool. W is the shortcut for it, and all I have to do is to click on this first circle, then the next one, then the next one, then the next, and so on and so forth. Just make sure that you go through them in order, in the order you wish to create the text. And of course it doesn't look anything like the shape behind it, the path that we created. But once I press Ctrl or Command Y, I can switch to the outline view. I will actually be able to refine the blend path to whatever we need. So all you need to do at this point is to switch to the pen tool, and then holding down the Alt key, you can start bending these curves. So Alt click and drag or Option click and drag will bend those path segments. Now, unfortunately, this is a shortcut that only works, I think, from CC 2018 onwards. So it's for newer versions of Illustrator. But let me just keep doing this. And if you have older versions, you can probably do the same thing just by adding additional points with the pen tool, and then start dragging them around, adding the anchors. But this shortcut just saves a lot of time, so it's just much faster bending these straight lines around. And also holding down Alt or Option key, I can drag the anchors or handle points as well to get them in the right place. And notice how the little circles are staying in the same place, so they're not moving around. They are just static, staying in that original place where we place them down. Now I am going to refine these curves a bit, like this one here as well. I'm just going to drag the handles out a bit further. And I think that looks quite good. The only sharp corner is here on the top, so I'm just going to try to smooth that out by using the handles. Okay, something like that. Now, if I press Command or Control Y, we can switch back to seeing the actual colors that we created, and we can even temporarily turn off the background just so we can see how it looks. Now, even at this point, it looks quite interesting. So we have these little dots, but once we select the shape and we double click on the blend tool in the toolbar, we can specify exactly what settings we want to use with this. So instead of using this option, we can switch to smooth color. So for the spacing, and immediately you can see how much better it looks. So if I click away, there you go, it looks perfect. Now the only thing that we need to fix, of course, is the alignment. So at this point, I'm just going to drag the anchor points with the direct selection tool. And I'm not even bothered at this point to make it exactly the same as my original drawing. That was more like just a guide to create this shape. But now that I have them in place, I can set it up and it looks quite nice. And this is the point where I would actually continue doing the same thing with all the rest of the details. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't do the whole thing in one. The reason for that is I'm trying to keep it simple for the blend tool. So instead of doing it all in one, even though it's a continuous line as you can see the design, it's better to separate the artwork into 3, 4, or 5 separate blends and then try to get those blends matching on the meeting points. So you will see exactly how this works, but if you try to do it all in once, it will either crash Illustrator or you will be really struggling to get the right transitions. So it is definitely worth splitting it up like I'm doing it here. So let's carry on. I'm going to use the same circle that I had before by just selecting one of them from the layers panel, Control or Command C, and then Control or Command F to paste it in, drag it out of that blend group, and then I can now move it freely and place it down somewhere around here. Okay, so now we can do the same exact thing. Alt, click and drag, Alt, click and drag, and then just first I'm going to place down these points just very quickly, up there, there, and there. And then I can now change their color. So this one can be that bright color, this one can be the darker one, and then just alternate it. So again, maybe select these two, can be the bright color, and then that can be the dark color, and that's also the dark color there. So it's almost like an alternating pattern in a way. So now, to make sure that the blend continues, I'm going to also duplicate this point, drag it up here, align it with the other shape, set that to the same exact color, and that will also be part of this second blend. That way I can connect the two together. So that's an important step there. To make sure that I don't mess up my previous blend, I'm going to lock that. That means I won't be able to accidentally select it. And now I can use the blend tool and start from the first circle, then click on the second, and then just keep going through it like before. Make sure we go through in the right order. Okay, so this is probably a little bit longer and has more joints than the previous blend, but still I think this should be fine. Hopefully it's not going to crash Illustrator. So it's always good to save. I'm just saving at this point. And then what I'm going to do is to switch again to the outline view. So Command or Control Y on the keyboard. And at this point, we can even turn off the visibility of the other shape, just so it doesn't get in the way. And using the pen tool, I can Alt, click and drag to create my first curve, then drag this one out, holding down the Alt key continuously. I'm not even letting go. I can control the handles as well. Then I can bend this shape. I can bend this other path as well. Also adjust the handle straight away. Then bend this shape. And these are the tricky ones here. So you want to make sure that the handles on top of this are continuous. So there's no break between the two handles. Something like that. Maybe we can drag this out a bit further and then drag that out further as well. Okay, that's quite good. Then holding down Alt key again, let's just bend this, bend that. And using the handles, we can add a little bit of curve there. We can also add a bit more smoother curve here. Again, avoid having a break between the two handle points. Something like that. Be a bit closer. That can be a bit further out. All right, and then Alt click and drag again. Alt or Option. Like that, and the easy one here at the end. There we go. So now if I press Ctrl or Command Y, we switch back to the normal view. I can turn off my original drawing just so we can see what we created. And as always, we have to select the path, double click on the blend tool, and then choose smooth color and click OK. And it's going to regenerate the design. And now we can turn back the first word that we created, and you can see because we aligned the point where they are joined up and we used the same exact color, it looks like it's a continuous path. So that's a clever way of avoiding creating a blend that is too long. So just breaking it up like this. And of course, if you feel like that you want to move things around, you can do that. You can select circles. Let's say in this case, I just click on this, and I can even use the arrow keys on the keyboard. So up, down, left, right, I can nudge them around. I can also move this one maybe a little bit and just refine the shape. So there's no overlap. Even this one here, we can just move a little bit further out. And that's the fun thing, that once you have these shapes in place, it's so much easier to make amends and you can really refine, get the negative space nicely filled in. So I'm just going to unlock this other shape as well, so I can start playing around with these points. And oh yes, this is the point where we have the meeting part. And if I want to move this point here, I have to make sure I create a marquee selection there. So I'm going to select both of those circles, and then I can move them at the same time. And then I can move it probably around here. And now let me just speed up the video a bit because I'm going to repeat the same steps, but then I'm going to explain a few more things before we finalize this artwork. Okay, now that we have the final result, let me show you a few really cool techniques, the way we can improve this composition. First of all, what if I want to change the colors? So at this point, I'm happy with the way it looks, but what if I want to use or just test out different colors? Well, the easiest way to try that is by selecting everything, Control or Command A, and then click on this icon on the top, the Recolor Artwork feature, and you can select individual colors, double click on them, and then from the color picker, you can either pick colors manually or switch to the color swatches, which will list all the colors in your document, and then you can pick another one, then click OK, and that's going to update it. So once again, maybe instead of this color, I'm going to use again color swatches and this yellow. And then for the purple, I'm going to switch to this turquoise color, and we can see already how this new version looks like. So if I click OK, we can compare before and after. So it's as simple as that to make changes. Or you can also use the Recolor Artwork feature in edit mode, where you can move the points around in the color wheel freely. Or if you like a combination, you just want to change the hue, you can lock these together by clicking on this little chain here. And then when you start moving them around, you will see how it's going to recolor all of them at the same time, but keeping the relations between the colors the same. That's quite a nice color combination there. So once again, that was before and this is after. The next thing you can do is to change the settings of each of your blends. So for example, this one up here, if I go to Object menu and choose Blend, there's two options. First of all, Reverse Spine, which would change the order of the blend. So instead of starting with this bright pink and ending up in the dark purple, it's going to reverse the colors. So now you can see we have a bit more of a jump on each end, but this could be also an intentional, and it actually looks quite nice. It just defines the words a little bit more, so have a little bit of break between each of the blends. But I'm going to undo this and show you another feature, again from Object, Blend. This is called Reverse Front to Back. What this will do is to change what's on top and what's behind in the paths. So for example, here you can see we have this bright color on top, but once I choose reverse front to back, we will get the purple or dark purple detail coming to the top, and every other overlap is going to be reversed. That's also quite useful, and sometimes you can get to better results by playing around a little bit with the settings once you have your blends ready. And finally, probably the coolest feature is that you can actually change the thickness of your strokes. Now, because they are not actually strokes, they are the blends between the circles that we created in the beginning. You have to be a little bit more clever than just simply changing the stroke settings. What you need to do is to go into each of your blends and make sure you lock the path, which is also referred to as the spine of the blend. So let's just lock that in each of these. I'm going to lock it here as well. Go in there. It's usually on the top in each of the blends, so it's easy to find it. And once I went through and logged everything, now if I do select all or Control or Command A, it's going to select all the circles in the design. Now, the reason why that is useful, because now we can first of all check whether they are all aligned. So where there's a join, it should be aligned, and I can spot that there's actually an issue here. So I'm going to use the direct selection tool and start dragging this until it snaps and aligns to the other one. So that was a good way of spotting the mistake here. And actually it's still not aligned. Let me just move it away and then move it back. Now it should be aligned. I can select the two together, move them up there. Yeah, that looks better. Now for this feature to work, we have to make sure that we have only the circles selected and not the paths, so the spines within the blends. And even though we logged those, they actually get selected when we use the Command or Control A shortcut. So instead of using that, there is another tool called the Magic Wand, which can select the same objects within the design. And what I would do is to click on one of these circles, and you can see immediately it selects all the other circles in the design. I can go into outline view as well, and it looks like it's all selected now. And if I check my groups, I can see that the paths are not selected. So this was a much easier and quicker way to do the selection. And by the way, if you want to refine how the Magic Wand is working, just double click on it and you can choose whichever filtering you would like to work with. I was using opacity, and that managed to filter out only the circles and not selecting the outline. And now that I have the circle selected, you can finally use the effect I wanted to show you. So we go to the Object menu, choose Transform, and Transform Each. So you don't want to scale because that would just decrease the size of the whole composition. You want to choose Transform Each, which means that you will be able to resize the circles individually and keep them wherever they were originally, so without changing their position. So I'm going to turn on Preview, and I will change the horizontal scale to 50 and then the vertical scale also to 50. And there you go. That's the reduced thickness applied on the design. And the same way, if I want to make it thicker, I could, let's say, type in 120, 120, and now we have a much thicker line which fills in the negative space more. So at this point you can experiment and see what thickness works best. If you want to make it really thin, you can go down to 25% and so on and so forth. Of course, you can even do individual changes. So if I just do 50 and 50, then I can select one of the circles, let's say this one here, and then use Object, Transform Scale in this case, and maybe type in 200. And then you can see we can create variation in thickness as well by individually adjusting circles. Of course, we can even select multiple circles. So maybe select this, that. I'm just holding down the Shift key, randomly picking a few, and then go back again using Transform Each this time because we don't want to move them around. So once again, just type in 200, 200, and there you have more variety again in the width. So the possibilities are really endless, and it just comes down to your creativity what your final result will look like. Let us know in the comment section what would you like us to cover next time on this series. Click on the link in the description or the join button to become a member if you want to work on future projects with us and see the whole design or illustration process live. Thanks a lot for watching. Like and share this video if you enjoyed it. Have fun learning, guys, and I will see you in the next one.